Hi everyone, my name is Butternubs, and welcome to Mirage and Pavlov VR. I'm going to do a crash course on intermediate and advanced reloading techniques, as well as some tips on aiming with some of the different weapons that you can pick up in this game. You'll notice in my hand right now is the default M4 rifle. We're going to be playing with that for a little bit, but first, before we actually get into reloading techniques, I would highly suggest going into your settings, inputs. Now we are going to be doing this on Oculus Rift. We're going to be using the thumb button on the left-hand controller to bring up your scoreboard, and pulling down the left trigger at the same time. This is from the same controller. Now that we're inside a menu, we're going to point, settings, and input. On main hand, I've set it to mag bolt release. This is going to be important for guns such as handguns, and in this case, 4. Once you have that set, we're going to head back into the game, and we're just going to start with firing a little bit. You're going to notice out on the wall over there's a little bit of a spray pattern. This game does have a lot of vertical recoil that has a relatively randomized spray pattern. You can also notice that our bolt is empty. Since we have mapped the magazine and bolt release to essentially be the same button on the right hand, this is going to make reloading a rifle very easy. On that thumb button, we're going to drop the magazine, take our offhand down to our left hand pouch, and pull the left trigger. We do not need the grip button, but the trigger will grab us a magazine. You simply put it into the magazine well. We can press that button again. You will notice that the bolt slides home. Grab the front of the gun, and you're ready to shoot again. We can do that a little bit faster. We can have relatively fast reloads. Notice that the bolt has already gone home because I had pressed the bolt button as the magazine went in. Pretty straightforward. Now, with iron sights, we're pretty much going to have only iron sight weapons to shoot with in the game, except for very select rifles and sniper rifles. In this case, we have a very typical front post and rear post on our iron sights. You'll notice that way up at the very front here, there's a tiny little bead right in the middle. We want to line this with our peephole in the very back of our rear sight. We want to line it up so that the front post is literally right in the middle of this circle. Doing that, holding both hands on the weapons, looks something like this. Burst firing gives us a much tighter group. Now, with all that vertical recoil in the game, how are we going to counteract that? The easy way to go about doing that is to actually take your left hand and while you are shooting, hold down at the same time that the weapon is kicking up to counteract that recoil. If you played Counter-Strike, which is what this game is basically a VR version of, you're going to see pretty much the same concept. Now, just by pulling down, we made that recoil group much smaller. M4, one of the easiest guns to pick up in the game. That's a knife. Very straightforward to reload, very fun to use starting out, and is, in my opinion, one of the best guns to pick up with. Now, pistols. You will always spawn with the M1911. This is going to be the default pistol you always end up with. Pretty much the same reload concept in this case. You have 8 to 9 bullets whenever you put in a fresh magazine. So we drop a mag, pull a new one out with the left trigger, in we go, and then we can just press the same bolt release button to let the slide go home, and we're ready to go. Now, for your offhand, I actually have a cool little tip. When you're using a handgun, you actually put our hand up, hold the grip button, and now we have 2 hands on the weapon. You will notice that with a hand off, has pretty good recoil. However, if we hold our second hand and shoot, we have much lighter recoil to work with. Now, another tip. You can't really see me physically right now, but I am just holding on the left trigger once the left grip once I am up on the pistol so that I am holding it with 2 hands in VR. But I have my left hand physically down at my side next to my reload pouch. So as soon as I let go of the grip button, you'll notice my hand is already down here ready for another magazine. So if I want to be fast on reloads, I can use the second hand on my gun for a little reload. And as soon as I'm done, I already have a new magazine. Easy. So speed reloads will look something like this. Pretty straightforward, right? Now bolt actions. That's the fun stuff. Same concept. You drop a magazine on the op in this case. New mag in. However, it's a bolt action. This is the guy we want to work with. So we're going to use our trigger to pull the bolt up, out, forward, in. We have just cycled around. Common mistake is that we're too quick on the bolt and it ends up way up here and you can't shoot it because the bolt needs to be down. And we won. We'll get another game started in a second. But essentially, when we are shooting these rifles, the easy way to go about shooting them is to use your trigger hand to get your hand up, grab, back, forward, down, back on the trigger. This is pretty much the easiest way to go about shooting a bolt action without getting your gun kind of off position, because normally you'll see people shoot, come over, your gun is way off target now, you're using your grip hand to go back in this way. That will basically give you a couple of extra seconds of reload time, which we don't want. Instead, we're going to use the trigger hand. And when it's time to reload, we're going to dump the magazine while we're gripping the gun. Bolt goes open. Then on the right hand, we grab, in, down, and reload. Pretty straightforward, right? Easy. Now, since the game is over, I can't buy a gun anymore, but I can start the same match again. And let's go somewhere else this time. We say we pay a visit to shipment from Oculus Rift. Let's head over there. Here we are. I spawned with a random gun. This is the MP5 in this case. But I don't need this right now. I want to respawn so I can actually buy a gun. In this case, oh, well, lucky us. This is actually something we could actually learn something with. And I'm going to save the AK next. Now, notice what I just did. If you have a second gun on your back, you can just throw it back, let go of your grip, and re-grab it. And you can swap between two weapons on your back. There's a nice little pro tip, too. Why not? So, welcome to shipment from Call of Duty 4. If you're an oldie like me, you will remember this map, and it is so great to see it in VR. Very fun. Anyways, this is the AK-47. It's going to work a little bit differently reloading from the M4, because you'll notice, pressing it right now, the magazine release button or bolt catch button does not actually drop the magazine. That's because in real life we have this clip right here. We don't have a direct retention to just drop the magazine whenever we want. We have to actually grab it, toss it away. New magazine in. So in this case, we have to manually remove, add that magazine. Remove, add, remove, add. Now, if we actually need to rack the button, our bolt release is actually not even going to work because there's nothing to retain that bolt back when the magazine is empty because of the way AKs work. So in that case, we actually have to manually rack the slide whenever we want to put a new round in the chamber. So let's imagine we're on an empty AK right now. Okay, totally empty, no magazine, no bullet, nothing. When it's time to reload, click, we're empty. We're going to pull out our magazine, in goes a new one, grab the bolt with your trigger on your left-hand side, rack it, we have a new bullet in, and we're good to fire. Now, let's think about how long it actually takes to reload with our offhand on an AK. We're firing, out, we're in, and we have to either rotate the AK to reach the bolt this way, or we go under and rack it this way. That's one way to do it, but I'm a right hand, and I actually found another way that I've find a little bit more comfortable and a little bit faster in my opinion. So I'm going up, and instead of using my left hand, I'm letting go of my trigger hand. I'm going to rotate this way, grab the magazine on my right hand, in, and my hand is already at the bolt. And we're racking and we're grabbing the trigger again. So we've reduced the amount of movement our right hand is doing by a pretty good amount and probably shaving some time. I'm not going to be nitpicking and timing myself here. This is just what I'm comfortable with. So let's try it again anyways, and we're going to run completely dry. We're empty, rotate, grab, in, rack, on target, ready to go. Out, in, rack, done. Easy, right? So lots of different ways to go about reloading the AK. Pretty fun stuff. It's all about what you're comfortable with. I like using my trigger hand to reload. It just feels that much more natural to me. Now this guy, once you actually get used to it, this is actually a lot of fun in multiplayer. It's not the fastest time to kill. It's just fun. Usually takes about 2 shots to the chest. When you get those kills, pretty satisfying. Same concept as the op when we're using it. We want to be lined up on our iron sights. Now this is a good example on aiming because you have a pretty clear front post sight and just 2 vertical posts on the left and right. So all we got to do is just line up the sights so that the front post is lined up right in the very center of our rear post. So when we go to shoot, I'm actually hitting where I'm aiming. Let's actually find something else. I'm gonna aim right at this spot on the wall here. I'm gonna back up a little bit. Sights. Maybe I should rack the bolt, huh? And I hit exactly where I was aiming. So this gun's pretty fun. Now when we pull the bolt back with our left hand, we can actually come back down and grab a stripper clip of our rounds, throw it in, forward and down. And this one is actually a lot easier than the op for racking the bolt or getting a new round in. So you can actually be pretty quick on your rounds as long as you practice and get that movement of going up, back, forward, down. So done. Then once we have a empty mag well here, stripper clip, down, forward. So this is one of the cheapest guns in the game for competitive on like a secondary buy round. This is actually a great gun just to kind of stay at a distance from anybody in case they're rushing with SMGs. And this punches through armor like crazy, so it's actually a lot of fun. Yeah, basics of reloading, that's pretty much it. Just pay attention to the gun and what the sights are looking like. Pretty much same concept for any gun. There's going to be a front sight and a rear sight. You're going to be lining them up together, and it's going to shoot straight. If you find a scoped weapon, well, pay attention to the crosshair. Keep practicing. You will eventually get better at this game. It's very hard to get the spread. It's just going to come with time. I still have difficulty myself. Remember, AK can't drop. You have to actually grab the magazine. All right? Thanks for watching, guys. I'll try and see if I can keep up Pavlov content if people end up liking it. See you in the next one.